Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David,
My name is James.
and this, of course, is where you can find talk about all stuff Star Wars. How are you doing tonight, James?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today? That's the real
I'm
question.
doing fine here. Fine.
It's
Yeah.
nice. Had a long day today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to before we get into the news. Let's do some fun stuff. I went to this place that I've seen on TikTok. Even when I was in Texas, I saw it on TikTok. It's called Frankenson's Toy and Collectibles, and I had heard about this place. Now that I moved here to California, I was like, oh, I live 27 minutes away from this place now. So my wife and I went there today, and it's literally set up like a con, like a comic con full of like just booths of toys. Like it reminded me of Star Wars Celebration, just booth after booth of toys. Lots of pop figures. Hey, sorry, my dog is going crazy back here. Did y'all hear that? She's over here.
I don't
Um,
think we heard it.
okay, good. And so I went from booth to booth finding whatever I could. I found a $25 Jar Jar doll from episode 1. I did not get
Oh,
it.
wow.
I should have gotten it. It was beautiful. It was never been
Only
opened.
$25? Wow.
$25. And looking back, I probably should have bought him. And then after that, I found an old doll, Darth Vader doll that was released back in '97 during the special edition time. And so yeah, I found one, and I'd had one when I was younger, but I opened it up and I destroyed him because I played with him so much. I messed him up, and he was never the
Mm,
same after that. And then,
wow.
sorry, my dog is being ridiculous back here. It's my wife, everybody. So she says hello. And so I got that, and then I found a Naboo in one starfighter from Mandalorian Hot Wheels brand, So I bought that as well, and I behaved myself. That's all I got, and because they had some really really cool things, and I'm wanting to go back again to get more stuff. So I'll let y'all know. And it was nice. It was a nice place. Really crowded though. It's one of those places that's only open 3 times a week: Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday. And that's it. So it's always busy there because people are trying to get their toys and everything and their collectibles. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing that today. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Prices sound reasonable. So,
hmm and yeah, they like of course whenever I go to these things. Oh, hello. Thank you. Favaloni. Hello, that's a good name. That's a great name. Favaloni for life. Hello. Thank you for listening to us. But yeah, whenever I go to these toy stores or even when we're at Celebration, my goal is always to get episode 1 era stuff. Like for me, episode 1 era stuff is like what I want. If it's not episode 1, it's always the 97, 96 era of the Power of the Force action figures that came out during then. And that's what I get. That's what I always look for. So yeah, that's what I was searching, and like I said, I behaved myself because there's a few things that I was like, "That's an X-wing. I want that X-wing," but they're like, "It's 120." I'm like, "Oh man,
mm,
okay." Then they had the giant, hard to find Millennium Falcon, like they had it there on a box, and I did not get that one. But yeah, so it was cool. It was cool. Next time I go back there, I'll let y'all know, and I'll do my best to take pictures and everything. Now that I know the layout of it and everything, so yeah, that was fun.
nice.
Thank you.
So yeah, before we jump into the news here, we of course want to thank all of our awesome supporters, all of our patrons. Starting off in the purple tier, we have Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Sean Greathouse, and Zach Netzel. On the red tier, we have Fenrir 526, Maya Morris, Texas Vader 76. And on the black tier, we have Maka Tautala, Nathan Shank, Evan Opaker, and Liam McCallion.
What?
Thank you so much for all your awesome support.
Yes.
Everything that you contribute helps us defray the cost of going to Celebration, buying stuff to help out the podcast, like mics and other equipment. So thank you so much, guys. We love you.
And speaking of
Um,
celebration, it's coming up, man. It's like what, 3 weeks or something like that? Like
it's so weird, man. It is
it's
so
right
weird.
around
It
the
doesn't
corner.
feel like it's right around the corner, but yeah, in a couple weeks, I mean, I'll be on a plane to a different country.
Okay, so I have to ask you this question. Have you ever left the country before? It's just,
Yeah,
it's
but
just
I don't really consider it leaving the country. I went to Mexico. I've been to Mexico like 5 or 6 times.
okay, so I guess the question, yeah, have you ever left the continent before?
Not the continent, no.
And then, not only is Celebration close, but Jedi Survivor is close. And we just found out this week that we are getting a trailer tomorrow, right? March, when was it again?
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Mob Rules knows.
Yeah. Okay. Let us know when that trailer is. Because because I know it's happening very soon. They dropped it this past week, letting us know that there's another trailer coming out. And I know everyone's mad because we were supposed to get the game like this week. We were supposed to originally get it this week. So, oh well. But yeah, Jedi Survivor is very close, and there's a lot of people, including me, who are super excited about this game to see what the story, how it progresses, and how it ends. That was 20th. Yeah, see, yeah, it's somewhere either this week, the 20th or the 23rd. So I'm looking forward to that very, very much so. Alrighty then.
Yeah, before we get to the news, James, I definitely want to ask you, what was your opinion on the latest episode of The Mandalorian: The Convert?
Oh yeah, you and I haven't talked about it. That's
No,
right.
we haven't talked about it at all.
It's weird. You and I have normal phone conversations sometimes, not about Star Wars. I forget that we don't. Yeah. So I was like, I've talked to you. What are you talking about? What do you mean? No. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very interesting how they stopped the Mandalorians, Din Djarin and Grogu's story per se, to show us another plot that was going from season 2, season 1, and seeing how that one's concluding, or not concluding, but how that one's progressing. I was for it. I thought it was cool. It was a great look at former members of the Empire, some of them who you could tell were never happy being in the Empire. They were just following orders, which I mean that's a whole thing in itself. And to see Coruscant, and it looked glorious. Coruscant looked really, really good. It's almost like they asked Andor, like, "Hey, how did y'all make it look that good? Okay, we're gonna do the same thing." Yeah, Coruscant looked amazing. Um, so so yeah, and then we got to see the Opera House. Now it's a lecture hall,
That was
and
really cool.
that was really, really cool. Yeah, I was like I said, I thought it was really cool. I know a lot of people were very upset that a lot of people said it was like a filler episode. I was like, this was the most not filler episode I've ever seen from Mandalorian, because we're literally continuing a new plot. I mean, not a new plot, a plot that we've already been seeing before. And it's a plot that I think a lot of people forgot about, that it was a major deal in season 1 and an even bigger deal in season 2. And it's like, how did y'all forget? Like, we have to see what's happening here, because it's not just, they didn't just throw it in there for nothing.
Yeah.
And what do they say? I think the setup is a great setup for the sequels. Yeah, and that's another thing. A lot of people are like, well, I forget. Somebody was like, "Is Mandalorian trying to get us to the sequels?" I was like, "That's literally what the show's doing." Like Favreau and Filoni have both said, "We are getting to you to the sequels," and it's like, yeah, it's super. Just like in season 2, the Believer, whenever the Bill Burr scene, whenever the guy says the galaxy wants order, I remember doing the DiCaprio thing, like, see, there he goes. That's there he is. That's the first order, mentioned, if you may. So yeah, I think I loved it. I thought it was really, really great. I think Coruscant looks better in Mando than Andor. Ah, I will say Andor did a great job with practical shooting locations and then using the visual effects to extend it, which I thought was really, really cool for Andor. That's why I liked. I think I prefer Andor's Coruscant scenes to Mando, but I still think they both looked really pretty.
Yeah.
There you go, July 20th. I mean, July 20th. Why did I say July 20th? March 20th. And yes, like as Miss Sunflower says, Mandalorian is the Clone Wars for the sequels, and yeah, it's very, very true. It is, and I'm glad. Like, I'm glad we're getting this gap filled for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, like I said, I loved it. I thought it was really cool, and it makes me sad knowing that next week, or this coming up week, we're probably not going to see any of these characters again for a couple of more episodes. So, which I guess will lead us right into the news now, like what the big news that just happened this week.
Not so fast, James. So what do you think happened with Dr. Pershing? Do you think he died?
No, I think he's going to end up in an institution
Oh
for
man, you
for
think he's gonna be like
people.
almost like a
I think
vegetable type of?
he's going to become a
Uh,
vegetable, which is really sad, because he was very, very smart, and Yeah, I think he will. She's got to almost fry his brain, and this is kind of dark, for
Yeah,
Disney. This is pretty much watching somebody get, I know it's weird to say a lobotomy, in Star Wars. You know,
essentially.
somebody's brain getting scrambled, and yeah, I think when we see him next, he's gonna have no idea of what happened. He's gonna have no memory, and she's probably just gonna push him into a just gonna say they're gonna say he's no longer fit to serve, and he's gonna end up being put somewhere in a padded room, and I
Mhm.
don't, and that's it. I think his plot line is over, which is really weird because it feels like they need him. They do need him for all of this,
Right.
and then to have her then give him this treatment and turn up the treatment to mess with him even more. It's either two things. Either, yes, he's going to end up in a mental institution on Coruscant, or they're going to be able to control him even more, and
Mhm.
he's just got to follow the orders that they give him. Um, yeah, it's really strange. It's really strange why they chose that. I know they're going to explain it, but yeah, it was a little confusing because it's like, you need him? Why are you torturing him like this if you really need him like that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just hope they show us Moff Gideon's escape. That was cool when they were like, "Oh yeah, no, he left, he's gone." It's like, uh-oh. So we'll see where he's
Yeah.
gonna
Didn't
end up.
even make it to the war tribunals. But yeah, everything that Miss Sunflower, thanks a lot, Miss Sunflower on YouTube for submitting all your comments here.
Yes,
And if you're on YouTube, like the video, drop a comment in the video, subscribe, of course, if you can.
yes, please.
Greatly appreciate that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that Miss Sunflower is saying that I do agree with and I don't agree with because it doesn't it doesn't strike me that Filoni and Favreau would try and manipulate the story just for the simple fact that the Rangers got canceled. Um, but there's been a lot of talk of maybe what they did was this was only going to be a Coruscant episode, and they bookended it with Mando stuff, and that's why the episode was like extra long for a Mandalorian episode.
Mm.
But we really don't know. We don't know what the case was. I really liked the episode, just like James. I was in it. It was full Star Wars to me. Very, very much what I have come to expect from the Mandalorian. We all know that the Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi didn't really live up to what I think the fans were anticipating. And of course, the Mandalorian blew like our minds and overachieved. So it's one of those things that people I think out there in the critic space and um, on other podcasts talk about the fact that this episode did not make any sense because you bookended it with Mando stuff, and then in the middle you had some other story. But it's like it made total sense to me because you have to put you that aspect of the story in there to progress the overall story of what they're trying to tell, which is really what they said from the beginning, the lead up to the sequels. So it made total sense to me, but there's so much criticism right now about the Mandalorian, and that leads us into our very first news story. Parrot Analytics, which we've talked about before on the podcast, they track viewership, and according to a couple articles, this one is from Screen Rant, and the caption is: Samba TV estimates that The Mandalorian's season 3 premiere was watched by just under 1.5 million households, which is 2% lower than the Book of Boba Fett's premiere, 20% lower than Obi-Wan Kenobi's, and 25% lower than The Mandalorian season 2 premiere, which 25% lower is a huge drop.
That's not good. That's very bad. That's a very
So,
bad thing.
yeah, what can that be attributed to? The only thing I can think of is the fact that people watched the Book of Boba Fett and maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi and kind of maybe checked out a little bit because the Book of Boba Fett is the most watched thing in certain statistical categories on Disney Plus under Star Wars. And there was a ton of criticism on that. And now, do you think The Mandalorian is suffering from that?
I think Mandalorian is suffering from that because I'm not gonna lie. When when we were discussing Mando season 3 a couple of months ago, whenever before the first episode, I told y'all, I said, I'm not as crazy for this season. I'm not as crazy about the progression of the story. I think it was just because Grogu left us at the end of season 2 and it was really sad. But then Book of Boba Fett's like, just kidding, he's back. They're back. It's fine. It's just we're gonna continue to. And then Andor for me was so amazing, and it was like Mando's not even going to be as close to how great Andor is. So I kind of checked out from Mandalorian season 3, the hype. I wasn't that excited about it. And I think a lot of people probably had my same mindset, which was, yeah, it's cool. And plus, Obi-Wan wasn't the best. It was great, but it was not what we wanted it to be. Book of Boba Fett definitely wasn't what we wanted it to be. So yeah, I think people did check out, and unfortunately, that's really sad because whenever season 3 premiered, it was like, okay, this is pretty good. Then when episode 2 came out, it was like, holy crap, this is great. This is Mandalorian. This is Star Wars. This is exciting. And unfortunately, people didn't even want to watch the first episode of season 3. So I don't know. I have a feeling, excuse me, word of mouth is going to get out that the season is actually very, very good. And I think people will jump on toward the end of the season. I think a lot of people are
Yeah.
going to be more excited about it going forward. But yeah, I think Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi and how much loved Andor was to the people who watched it, I think kind of messed with Mandalorian's numbers here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what did Mrs. Sunflower? Book of Boba Fett's most watched episode is chapter 7. I think that's because of the great setup for Mando episode 5 chapter. Yeah, exactly. And we had 2 amazing Mandalorian episodes in Book of Boba Fett. So yeah, of course those were going to be the top watched ones. And then like the story of Dr. Pershing, but they could have condensed it and showed more Mando. I can see, but at the same time, I think I was on, like I said, I was on board the moment Dr. Pershing's stuff started happening, and I kind of was not kind of I was totally fine not cutting back to Mando. I was like, oh, let's just do this. This is good. This is a good episode. And it reminded me of a Clone Wars episode where you just have this other mission going on at the same time or other storyline going on, and then you cut back, and I don't know, it just made sense to me. Um, Andor is great, but I was surprised. Well, yeah, because Andor, it was one of those things where people were like, I don't care about this character. What is this? What it's not, Mando, it's not Boba Fett, it's not Kenobi, it's just this character we were introduced to in Rogue One. What could be interesting about that? And apparently everything. Apparently there's a lot to do with this type of character. So yeah. Andor was really great. And like I said, I'm sorry if you hear my dog playing with her toy. She's having a great time while we're recording. I don't feel a direction on the story right now. The Last of Us had direction from the beginning of the season. I How do you feel about that, David?
I feel like that's like one of the advantages the Mandalorian has. We don't know exactly where it's going, and to me, that's exciting because they're still having the same type of story and the characters and the reintroduction of stuff we know from the past. It's very much for me quintessential Star Wars. What they're doing, all the different elements they're bringing back from the sequels, the prequels, the OT, and it just feels right to me. I feel like I'm almost like in the minority here. I'm loving this season. I love everything that they're doing. I love the fact that we went to Coruscant for so long, and we were always begging, we need longer episodes. We get it, and people are still complaining. They're finding something to complain about. And
Well, we
I mean,
wanted
it's not
longer,
a
but
big
this.
deal. Yeah, it's not a big deal if they bookend it with Mando stuff and we have a whole nother story in the middle. We're gonna get more Mando stuff. I mean, people are just very, very impatient to me. That's what it feels like to me personally. And it feels like that they're looking for like super fast, instant gratification from what we're getting with the Mandalorian, and they don't get it. And it's like, well, why are you showing this other stuff? It's called the Mandalorian. Where's the Mandalorian? Me personally, I don't really care as long as we're getting Star Wars stuff, which is what we're getting. And going back to Coruscant is awesome. I mean, we kind of wanted to see that, and then they give it to us. I don't know if it's just the way that fans are now that they're complaining, and it's just the way the fan base is now. But to me, I mean, I love it, and it's always such a drag, man, when people complain about Star Wars stuff, and especially Star Wars stuff that I like, and it's like the zeitgeist is just like, no, this didn't work, and it's like, yes, it did, it worked for me. I don't know, but yeah, looking at the comments here. So yeah, Miss Sunflower says on YouTube, I feel like we're lost with the direction of the story right now because what we thought would be the main plot line was already resolved in 3 episodes. So now we're all going in blind.
That's what makes me excited about it. Is the
Yeah.
fact, like when episode 2 started with the Mines of Mandalore, and then it kept going, I was like, "Holy crap, man! We're gonna solve this problem very quickly." Which means I have no idea what the rest of the season is gonna be like. And like David said, that makes me happy. That makes me happy knowing I have no idea what in the world is gonna happen. I just know it's gonna be awesome. You know what I mean? And yeah, we're gonna go back to Mando. We're probably gonna go back to Coruscant. We're probably gonna go back and forth in between. Um, but yeah, I am fully on board with what's gonna happen next because I don't know what's gonna happen next. And I think that's what sometimes makes Star Wars a lot of fun, is not knowing how it's all going to end. So yeah, I still think Mando is going to save Grogu by taking out a whole hospital wing of troopers to stop him from being. I have a feeling we're mixing up 2 shows here with Pedro Pascal, but that's just a prediction. I was gonna, and I haven't seen Last of Us yet. I was gonna start it the other day, but I haven't. So I haven't watched it yet. But I pretty much know everything that's going on because of TikTok and memes and comments and everything like that. So, anyways, back to Star
Yeah.
Wars.
Yeah. I do like the fact that the Legacy Nerd brought that up, saving Grogu, because we do know now for sure. Carl Weathers stated on Twitter, The Foundling is coming this week on Disney Plus and is directed by yours truly. And we also know it was co-written by Dave Filoni, thanks to Galactic Transmissions here on Instagram. His post states The Foundling is a 30-minute episode, which is going to disappoint a lot of people, co-written by Dave Filoni and directed by Carl Weathers. So we're kind of automatically assuming that, and I think it's justified really and commonsensical in a way, that if Filoni writes or directs, we're going to get some very Filoni centric created classic characters. And Rosario Dawson made a post about the Mandalorian. Do my best Wonder Ahsoka impression this Wonder Woman Wednesday as I Jones for the next Mando episode. So everyone is thinking that, okay, Ahsoka's going to be in this next episode for sure now, since she posted it that way. James, is it a foregone conclusion that we're going to get Ahsoka Tano in the next episode of The Mandalorian?
I mean, with that type of post and the fact that it is Filoni, yeah, we're gonna get her somehow in the.
James's dog is going crazy. So yeah, I think we're all kind of thinking that we're going to get that Jedi sequence that we all saw in the trailer, possibly in this next episode, possibly the reveal of how Grogu was saved. So many different theories, so many different characters. I think a kind of older and recent speculation to maybe who saved Grogu is possibly Barasafi. That's a name that has popped up lately. But of course, we don't know for sure. It seems like no one knows. That hasn't leaked. That's one thing I know for sure
That's
that
such a.
hasn't officially dropped.
I'm trying to think plot wise why this episode is necessary right now for Mandalorian. Like, in through the story, it feels kind of left field for me that they're gonna show Grogu's past now. That's just me personally thinking about it. Like, it's like, okay, so Mando, I guess, okay, I guess I just talked myself into. I guess it makes sense because Mando achieved his goal. Mando
Right.
achieved what he was going for.
No longer an apostate.
Yeah, Grogu now has to something he has to grow somehow, and so he has to go back into his memories and therefore we're gonna get this series. We're gonna get these moments of watching how Grogu is saved. Um, so yeah, and how Ahsoka falls into all of this, I don't know. I don't understand how that's gonna happen unless they're in trouble at the beginning of the episode doing something, and she shows up to help them and saves them, and then there's a conversation, and then
Well, I mean, Bo-Katan and Ahsoka have a close relationship. They might go hang out with her. Then Grogu's along for the ride, of course, and then Ahsoka and Grogu have another Jedi conversation where they don't speak,
Mhm,
but they're like mind melding in a way. And then you see the whole flashback, and then Ahsoka asks them more questions. So, can you tell me more about your past? Or
mhm.
Grogu says, "Hey, I want to tell you something." Maybe they get a little bit closer. I think that'd be really cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it's just trying to figure out how they're gonna where the plot is and how they're gonna get Ahsoka in
Yeah,
there. You know, I
yeah,
can't just see them like, "Hey, we're gonna go hang out with Ahsoka." You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I just I want there to be a really cool reason why Ahsoka is there. When she showed up in Book of Boba Fett, that was such an amazing like that cut to her standing there. I was like, "Ah!" I
yeah,
remember yelling. I was like, "Oh my!"
yeah,
And then her and Luke having a conversation. I was like, "I can't." I looked at my wife. I was like, "I cannot believe this is happening." Like, this is for me, that was bigger than seeing Luke at the end of Mandalorian. I was like,
yeah,
Ahsoka and Luke Skywalker are talking to each other right now,
yeah.
and that was crazy for me.
Yeah, Rosario Dawson being cast as Ahsoka is another one of those little kind of stories of behind the scenes that I just love about Star Wars. Just the fact that the fans kind of fan casted her in a way, and then Filoni, it was brought to Filoni's attention, and then he's like, "Yeah, that could work." And then of course he asked Rosario Dawson. She was like, "Yes, I want to be Ahsoka," and it just all kind of worked out. She's a big Star Wars fan. She likes to say things when she's not supposed to, which is
Yeah,
fantastic for us. But yeah, I
yes,
like this comment here from Miss Sunflower. She says, "The Last of Us kind of bored me at the end because I know the plot line from the start. Maybe that's just me." Um, to me, I think The Last of Us was kind of overrated in a way. I hate
uh-oh,
to say it, but I mean, it didn't strike me as like the great show and the great series that.
that everybody was kinda hyping
Yeah,
it to be. Well,
yeah, I mean, it's a little overhyped.
it's funny you say it bored you because you know what's gonna happen. Uh, that's why I think I like Mandalorian because I have no idea what's gonna happen. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, that's
yeah.
that's the exciting thing about Mandalorian for me is not knowing. I'm ready for this week's episode. Me too. I have to go to work early the next morning, but I am. This is one of those episodes where I have to stay awake to watch it because if my memory serves me correct, the first episode with Ahsoka was the first time I stayed up to watch Mandalorian as soon as it dropped because it was one of those things. I was like, I don't want to lose it. I don't want anything spoiled for me. I want to experience this, but before anybody speaks to me about it. So yeah, thanks to Ahsoka being in Mandalorian, I started watching these episodes as soon as they drop at 11:50 the night before. It could be Grogu, Din, or yeah. I mean, we're all kind of hoping it's Grogu, and part of me, again, I mean, like I said, I don't know how it's all going to work, but part of me is like, okay, story wise, this is smart because you're going to get all of these questions done, meaning the last 4 episodes of Mandalorian are going to be just insane, or 5 episodes are just going to be a story that we have no idea what it's going to be about. Um, so I'm kind of glad we're going to get Grogu's story, and plus we waited this whole time to get Grogu's um, story finally. Like it's been a long time, a lot of predictions, a lot of theories as to who he is. We know who he is, but like why he's so important, who got him out, and yeah, everything like that. So I hope we kind of get that. We get that with this episode. So I really hope it's about Grogu.
I really love the applicability of the titles of the shows this season because you look back at the apostate, could be Din, could be Bo Katan, the convert, that could be Bo Katan, that could be Dr. Pershing, that could be Elia Kane. And now with the foundling, Miss Sunflower points out it could be Grogu, Din, or Ragnar. So I'm really loving what they're doing with the titles. And looks like Colin has hacked into Miss Sunflower's YouTube account there. I hope they give us Hondo. I'm neutral with it. I mean, Hondo showing up, voiced by Jim Cummings, that would be kind of cool. That'd be a huge level of dopamine hit for people that are a big fan of the animation and Hondo showing up. But I think Brooke is kind of like, I don't want to see Hondo. I don't care about Hondo.
And Brooks also doesn't want to see Tatooine or anything. Okay,
Yeah, which
I'm just gonna say this right now. The fact that we haven't gone to Black Spire Outpost in
it's
Mandalorian yet
weird.
is so bizarre. All right, I'm just gonna say that the fact we have not been to Batu for something is just beyond me right now, because it's like that's a slam dunk for Disney to do that. You know what I mean? Like, that's just you show it, you show a whole new, from a certain point of view, a different point of view of Batu and everything, Black Spire Outpost. And then when people go to the park, they're gonna be like, "Holy crap! This was in Mandalorian. Like, all of this was in Mandalorian. Look at this."
Yeah,
It
yeah.
blows me away. Like Mando, and instead of the Millennium Falcon there, Mando lands his ship there. Like, that'd be so awesome. So I'm just saying, if it's Anakin behind those doors, it's gonna be wild. Yeah, I think we are gonna see Anakin. It's kind of hard. I guess it's kind of hard not to see him during Order 66 type of thing, unless it's just clone troopers again running out.
Yeah, I think there's a high percentage chance Anakin might show up, Hayden Christensen, because he's been shooting Ahsoka where they shot the Mandalorian season 3. So it seems like Hayden Christensen is going to be in a lot more Star Wars stuff in the future. I'm all for it.
Yes.
The Legacy of Nerd says, as bad as it sounds, I really don't want a lot of cameos. I just want a good story. I think, like the rest of us, if it's well placed and makes sense, though, yeah, I totally
Oh
agree
yeah.
with that last statement.
I remember
Mob Rule.
Oh, go on. Go on.
Go ahead.
No, do what you gotta do. See what you gotta say.
Mob Rules says Barris. That's what I said earlier. That is a kind of like a recent, like high stock possibility for that character to show up. The Sunflower says Barris is the most probable right now, which I think there's been some reports out there that that is a higher possibility. Miss Sunflower also states, I'm excited to see how they're going to bridge that from the pirate attack to Ahsoka to the Order 66 flashback. Derpy Entertainment is in the chat, fellas.
And then he said, "Oh, could Sabine be the bridge?" I don't know. I mean, anything is possible right now. Anything is possible right now with the show, which is, like I said, which I think makes it so exciting, because literally anything can happen. Luke Skywalker was at the end of Mandalorian season 2. Anything can happen right now. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Sabine is definitely on the virtual bingo card.
Derpy
Derpy says Thrawn's got to be involved.
Oh yeah, I think if we get Thrawn, and Dave and I have kind of agreed to this, he's kind of going to be the season finale tease. Like somewhere toward the end of the season, Thrawn will be mentioned again. If not this episode, because Ahsoka is still looking. You know what I mean? She's still looking for Thrawn. So I don't know. I think Thrawn will be involved heavily, but I think it's going to be toward the end of the season.
Yeah, there's that theory that Thrawn was responsible for the bombing of Bo's palace, but I think it doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense right now. Maybe Thrawn pulling the strings of like another warlord, possibly, but I don't think that works. The Sunflower says, is the Order 66 flashback kind of psychometry? So Luke has psychometry?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm sorry.
What is Ahsoka? What is Ahsoka is with Rex?
What if
And
Ahsoka is with Rex and triggers the
and that
Order
triggers or
Wait, didn't we have this discussion one time? Like,
probably.
this was I'm not trying to step on your toes, Miss Sunflower, but this was something we talked about a couple of years ago. Like, if Grogu saw, a trooper, would that make him flashback to, to that? Or maybe I don't know if it
Yeah,
was
with
him
Kill
or
Bill music in the background.
That'd be really cool. If they did that, I'd be like, that Star Wars just gained so much more respect. But no, I think that's a good idea, that he sees a clone trooper and it freaks him out and he gets scared. With the Nikto gang.
Yeah, that would be an awesome bridge type
Oh
of
yeah, that's
setup.
right.
Yeah, to
Because we
go
got
all
to
the way
figure
to
out
chapter
how
one, how
he,
the Nyctos picked him up. Yeah.
yeah, how did he get there? Why was he? Yeah, exactly. Man, that's good. I hope that happens. Um,
Yeah, Miss Sunflower also says on YouTube, because I feel like the Nikto gang was hired to protect Grogu from bounty hunters sent by the Empire. So it's going to be like a sad reveal that the Niktos were there for good reasons. They were just
and,
slaughtered
and then
by
Mando just
IG-11. And
I see Levin and Mando just murdered them all.
yeah,
Dude, we're trying to protect him. Now look what y'all did. But but yeah, I mean, anything. I think this is going to be a very popular episode. I think a lot of people are going to want to watch it. And if word is getting out, which everybody now knows, Filoni is the co-writer of it. I think we're going to see viewership go up for this episode. So I really hope so because I really don't
you would
want
think.
it. I really don't want it to get to the end of season 3 and then they have to say, "And we're not doing any more because viewership is down so much." I really
Yeah,
hope.
that whole like way that they determine all that is a very inexact science type thing. It's not like they track every single subscriber's
Mhm.
account. It's only like 3 million accounts that they actually track, and I don't know. It's very strange. But speaking of possible other characters, the other kind of popular rumor that's out there is the fact that we're going to get another Katie Sackhoff type situation, someone that voiced in animation that will reprise their same role in live action, and that is one. I'm forgetting the name now. McKidd is his last name. What is the first name, James?
Oh, I
Kevin McKidd. Kevin McKidd.
okay.
That's his name. So Kevin McKidd, he was actually in Train Spotting with Ewan McGregor, and he is also one of the main cast members. I know this because my wife watches the show in Grey's Anatomy. So he has a very, I believe he has a, he's from Scotland. He has a very, very thick accent when he gives interviews. But when he does the Grey's Anatomy show, he has an American accent. It's incredible to hear his range of going from a thick non-American English accent to an American. It's wild. It's like it's like a whole nother voice. But yeah, Finn Rao from Rebels. Um, it looks like he's going to show back up. That's kind of what the rumor is, and if he's going to pop up in the next episode, we're not quite sure. But it'd be interesting to see another one of those actors that did animation do live action. What do you think, James?
Again, like you said, it would be cool to be like, oh, hey, somebody who did a great job in Rebels and everything like that. Here he is again. Here he is now. And it makes sense. It does make sense to have these characters that were so prominent in these episodes, and especially what his character does for Sabine and everything in those episodes. It's like, okay, this kind of makes sense to have him there. So yeah, let's yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And plus it gives audiences another reason to want to watch Rebels, like because when Ahsoka showed up, I know a lot of people were like, all right, now I have to watch Clone Wars. And it was like, yeah, now
Right.
you have to watch it, and
And I'll
so
just tell everyone right now that's watching or listening to us on this podcast, you really seriously need to watch it. It's not even a request anymore. You need to watch Clone Wars and you need to watch Rebels
mhm,
if you want to be fully caught up, because I think we're going to hit that threshold where if you haven't already, you're going to be missing out on certain things starting right now in The Mandalorian.
yeah.
So I think
I
I just want to give that more. I mean, the Purgles already hit, but a lot of people kind of knew about the Purgles, so it wasn't that big a deal. And I think everyone in our bubble, all the hardcores, know and have seen those episodes. Even if they haven't seen it, they know about they knew about the Purgles. But we're about to get really deep, and it's going to be another Dave Filoni written episode. So it's time to catch up or do what you got to do to know the back history about a lot of this stuff now. So
oh
Mob Rules says this is the halfway point. Hopefully something big.
yes.
It makes sense to go Order 66. That's pretty big, even though it's only 30 minutes long. That's a Mando episode for you. The Sunflower chimed in with Kevin,
Yep. That was the name.
Home Alone reference.
Kevin.
Um, Someone out here on Facebook who
Oh, that's a good
asked to
one.
remain anonymous. Do we really need to know where Grogu came from or how he was saved? Sometimes the best thing about the OT were the things left unclear.
I think for some odd reason, our generation is no longer accepting of things left unclear. I think we need to know right away, or we're gonna get really mad. So I think they have to kind of explain it for us. And yes, like with Sunflower, I hope he trains in with a dark saber.
That
That would
would
be
be
pretty
nice.
big. That'd be really big, and that would be kind of full circle for his character. Not full circle, but that'd be really cool for his character to teach somebody else about the dark saber. Well, okay. Well, our problem is we watched both shows years ago. Don't remember a lot of the details, mostly specific one-off characters, locations, story. Yeah, and the thing about Clone Wars is it's a lot. Like Clone Wars, there's a ton of things going on, and and yeah, it is hard. And like people like Colin, I guess he's younger. He has a younger mind than you and I. He remembers the names of all the clone troopers. Like he remembers the names. He remembers the
Not only that,
planets.
he remembers the names of the episodes because I
Yeah,
sent him a screenshot and I said, "Colin, jokingly here, guys, don't tear me apart for this." I told Colin, I think it was James, Colin, and myself in chat. I said, "Hey, Colin, if you're a real Star Wars fan, tell me what episode this is from." And he named it like no hesitation. I was like, "Good
yeah.
God, man!"
For me, Clone
It was
Wars.
an obscure screenshot too. It wasn't like something that would jump out at you.
Yeah, he's great. Like Clone Wars, once it got to season 3, it's all just one thing. Like it's all blended together for me. So I can't
Yeah.
pinpoint certain moments, but I know everything that happened, especially and Rebels. Rebels is cool because it was only 4 seasons. And I believe it was 4. It was very few seasons, not a lot of episodes per season, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
I've heard some people say they like Rebels more than Clone Wars, so it's just one of those things. But yeah, you have to watch. We smoked our memories away.
So yeah, for me, late to the party, I'm a fan of those guys. It's
Thank you for
Vanessa
joining us.
and Robert. And yeah, they have awesome reactions to everything pop culture. They're constantly watching stuff, editing stuff, going to
Forces of
concerts. Yeah. So yeah, they're really awesome. Yeah, check out their channel on YouTube, Late to the Party. They're great reactors. I watch them all the time. I always look forward when there's like a big episode or something. I gotta watch them before I do anything else. So
Mm.
check them out. And yeah, they say they smoke their memories away.
And of
So
course,
Mob Rule says 4 seasons of Rebels. Yes. Someone actually did a counter of how long it would take to watch each series. I think for Clone Wars was something like 22 hours, and I think Rebels was something like 12 to 14 hours.
okay.
So not too long, but yeah.
I just remember with Clone Wars, it was just because I caught it when it was still on Netflix because it used to be on Netflix a long time ago. It was on Netflix, and I remember it was just like next episode, next like it was just I just could not stop watching it, and yeah, because the episodes were like 22 minutes long, so you're like, okay, it's not that bad. Then before you realize you watch 6 episodes, and that's a good 2 hours, gone, and yeah, it's if you better watch out, it's gonna get you. It baffles me that people who don't know Ahsoka or Sabine or Bo-Katan can watch a whole season of Clone Wars or Rebels, but cannot watch the episodes of Book of Boba Fett. So they're not confused. That's true. I know that. I talked to David about this. That scene at the beginning of season 3 when Mando's talking to the armorer, and she's just like, "You've taken off your helmets. You're no longer a Mandalorian," and blah 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 blah. Sorry. My oh, hold on one second. I got a really funny story for you. Hold on.
Someone at the door?
No, my Alexa app was going off, and I yelled Ahsoka. Turn off. My wife was laughing at me.
So to activate James's Alexa, you gotta say
You can say
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, and then she answers. But no, the scene where she was like, "You removed your helmet. You are no longer a Mandalorian. You must go to the things." And he was like, "I must go to the." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, we know this. Like, if you didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, that's why they threw that line. It was really bad." But yeah, a lot of people didn't want to watch Book of Boba Fett just to see those episodes. It actually takes you 6 days to watch all the movies and all the animated shows. It sounds like you know this from experience. I'm gonna say
That's a week off from work. Yeah.
it sounds like you were one day like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, and you did it. and I respect you. I'm reading the canon Thrawn books to learn more about that character. And man, I really wish Joseph was here because Joseph knew everything about Thrawn and all those books. I know a lot of people do, but man, he had a lot of knowledge about Thrawn. Um, and I'm pretty sure after this, a lot more people are going to start reading those books because Thrawn is going to be introduced. He's going to be the big baddie in Ahsoka. So yeah, it's going to be yeah. Everyone's going to be reading about Thrawn here very soon.
I was going to ask you, James, who else do you think that voiced animated characters are going to appear in live action in the future? We have Katie Sackhoff. We have possibly Kevin McKidd as Fenn Rau. And who else do you think?
I mean, I mean, but unfortunately, we know that the cast of Ahsoka is not the same. Is not the same voice actors from Ahsoka. You know what I mean? Like the actress playing Sabine Wren is not the
Right.
same voice actor.
Right.
Actress playing. I mean, we kind of think Mary. Who's playing Hera? Do we still not, or do we know who's playing
It
Hera?
hasn't been made official, but we're all kind of assuming it's Mary Elizabeth
Yeah.
Winstead, which is Ewan McGregor's wife, newlywed wife. Yeah.
Good job there, Ewan.
Which,
But
if you haven't seen Scott Pilgrim, the live action Scott Pilgrim, she's awesome in it.
she was awesome. If
I'm
you
gonna
haven't
say that.
seen
It's an awesome movie.
Live Free or Die Hard, she's awesome in there too. If you haven't
Is
seen,
she in that?
she plays John McClane's daughter in that movie.
Right, right.
And then if you haven't seen the Birds of Prey, which is where she met Ewan McGregor, she was awesome in that movie too. But
And if you haven't seen True Lies, she's
wait,
Arnold's daughter, I think.
no, she's not. That's somebody else.
Okay, let's look it up right now.
That's another actress. No. It's another actress who played.
Oh, I think that's Eliza Dushku, right?
Yes.
Okay, my bad.
Was,
I got it confused. I spoke that connection away, I guess.
But a lot of people think that she's playing Mary is playing Hera. So a lot of the main characters from Rebels that we love are not going to be live action. They're going to have.
What's the other main character you haven't listed there?
Oh my gosh, what's his name? You're talking about oh my god, what's his name?
Grand Admiral.
Grand Admiral Thrawn. Well, we already know that.
Do we? That's not official.
It's not official, but a lot of people are hoping it's him. It's the voice of Thrawn is going to be the live action version of Thrawn. He looks like him. He's tall. He has the face structure. It looks great. I get things confused with all the different shows, movies, books, and legends of canon, and all the similar names, places.
Yeah, it can get a little. I mean, I for one, I'll admit, I don't know every single bit of connective tissue since April 26th, 2014, when everything was made canon from that point on. But then again, we've hit the point where canon has kind of been retconned in a way because live action overrides any type of contradictions that are in novels and comic books. So it's kind of a weird thing, canon now in Star Wars. And I was wondering when that time period was going to hit where they're going to be like, well, okay, yeah, you got this doesn't count, this does count, because it's so hard to keep it straight, and it's almost like, in a way, it's almost like lying. I mean, it's so tough to keep up a lie. And for this many years, so many different hands in the pot, so many people trying to like tell the same story, and the story group can only do so much, really, to try and kind of untangle it. But they do a great job. Those guys, those guys know Star Wars inside and out. But yeah, it is. I mean, I don't hold anything against anyone because, like I said, I don't know it all about the most recent stuff in canon. A lot of the stuff in the aftermath novels, I'm not really that familiar with it, aside from the Cobb Vanth stuff. So Mobril says, "Give me Jar Jar."
Yes, Jar Jar, please come back. I'd be all down for Jar Jar.
I think Jar Jar is imminent.
Oh, this is good. Late to the party. We would have bet money that Jason Isaacs would have come back as a live action Grand Inquisitor. Good thing we never made that bet. Yeah, that was a little weird that it wasn't him. I mean, you know what I mean? It was like just put the makeup on him. It's his voice. He has the mannerism. Like, just Yeah. Anyways,
It would have made a lot of sense.
it would
But
have made.
there was a weird convention thing where Jason Isaacs was there for something else,
Mm-hmm.
and they asked him about reprising his role in live action, and he simply said, I'm paraphrasing here, and he's like, "Well, I don't really care about that." So, and they're like, "What?
At least,
What did he just say?" I don't
at
know if
least,
he was like tired from the convention day or he misheard or I don't know, but
as at least he didn't pull like a Harrison Ford and be like, "Who? Who's the
yeah,
Grand Inquisitor?
yeah,
I played somebody." Ezra, yeah,
yeah.
Ezra is a different actor as well. Yeah, so yeah, Grand Admiral Thrawn, I can see him. Yeah, I mean Mickelson coming back as him. Lars, right? Lars Mickelson, that's his name. Who did the voice actor of Thrawn? I think that's his name. Yeah, I can see him coming back.
Yeah, Lars Mickelson. Yeah.
And then yeah, so and Ahsoka will be played by 3 actresses, right? Rosario Dawson, the actress, House of the Dragon. So, all right, is this real? Did I miss something? Or are you having fun, Miss Sunflower, messing with us? Because if you're saying that there's 3 different people gonna be playing her, that's amazing. But I haven't heard anything about
If we're kind
this.
of like stunt doubles or something. I think there's like 5 Bo-Katans.
Or there's 3 Vaders or something like that on
Yeah.
Obi-Wan.
And there's like 5, 6, 7 Boba Fett's. Maybe she's referring to that.
I wonder if Zeb
Um,
include. Yes, Zeb. That's why I couldn't remember the Zeb. He'll be kind of expensive because of CGI. Yeah, that is a whole thing if Zeb is back. But then again, we actually, yeah, that's gonna be expensive. But I think they could do it. I think they could.
you figure he's gonna be in Ahsoka.
He has to be, unless they're like, oh,
Yeah.
he's off doing his own thing. We're like, okay, they couldn't afford to animate him for all those episodes. This is why shoving away from all this Star Wars lore is great for in the future or in the past makes me happy. Um, yeah, I mean, whenever Lucasfilm was sold to Disney and how they made everything, all the books and all that legend, I think that was a good move on their part because there's so much Star Wars, there's so much happening that it does get overwhelming. There are characters I have no idea like who they
Mhm.
are, and people know everything about them. So yeah, I think we'll get Sam a Star Killer in any way. I don't think so. I mean, then again, Vader's Secret Apprentice, that could still be a thing. But there's already a lot about Vader now that I don't think it would make sense for him to have a secret apprentice. I'm sad to say I think that ship has sailed for Star Killer. That's my
But
opinion.
I think there might be a little glimmer of hope because I think we're getting closer and closer to Kathleen Kennedy's retirement. And if someone comes in that kind of sees the success of certain properties, video games, Legends, the old Thrawn trilogy, I would say run with the popular stuff. Um, all that stuff is super popular. We all know that DC is going to go the route of Elseworld stories, so they're going to have like 3 or 4 Batmen, and 4 or 5 Jokers. So I mean, it's possible. Sam Witwer is still a young man too. He could
Mhm.
still probably do it, and he is a working actor, and he has an incredible amount of Star Wars knowledge in his head. So I really hope that they not so much break away from canon, but have different kind of parallel running stories to official canon. I think Star Wars can do it. It's all kind of there, and it's something I think they could pull off because because we just kind of talked about the kind of confusion and the immense library and depth of Star Wars lore. There's so much there that I mean people don't really need to know it all to kind of enjoy Star Wars, but I mean if you do want to know a lot of stuff, it is there for you to know. And there's a lot of nods to the people that know certain things that have watched Clone Wars and Rebels and know the original trilogy. And if you're a certain age, if you're older, you see R5D4 show up. You see the Jawas and the Sand Crawl. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, and Tatooine's very much important role in the Skywalker saga. But
Mhm.
yeah, hey, how's it going, Rolando? Thanks for joining us.
Great picture.
Yeah,
And then yeah, there are reports or rumors about the actress playing Ahsoka. Actress is playing Ahsoka. They say Ahsoka will be portrayed in different phases of her life, so many Clone Wars and Rebels flashbacks. Yeah, I'm all for it. I just
Yeah.
personally haven't heard anything about it. If this is true, like we all hope it is, that would be really, really cool and really, really smart on Lucasfilm's part as well to give us those flash. Because
Okay,
I
yeah, I think I know what Miss Sunflower was talking about earlier. There is gonna be, the report is they already cast a younger actress, instead of Rosario Dawson playing younger Ahsoka, it's gonna be a different actress. I
Mhm.
think that's what she was referring to. Um, and yeah, Lyanna from House of the Dragon, that's who she was. Okay. Yeah, I totally understand what she was saying now. So, yeah, that's kind of a big rumor right now.
I like it.
So, someone's very enthusiastic about the podcast tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
Dash Rendar, man. Shadows of the Empire, the classic N64 game that I think we spent like like a good while talking about it on a podcast. But yeah, that's a classic name. Dash Rendar with Ebon Hawk. Yeah, he's essentially Han Solo, just a different character with a different Carillion cruiser there. But yeah, that would be so great. So
oh, and also Han Solo popping up somewhere in Mando season 3 would be
yeah,
pretty cool. I mean,
yeah,
anything's possible.
yeah, it
Leia
is.
Organa showing up, like, man, it's right there. It's right there. They can do it. They can do it.
Yeah. So one of my favorite people in Hollywood, I guess, is this guy right here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to probably see him walk across that stage.
Yes, you.
Hopefully, I'll be in the room. I'll win the lottery for that panel. And we're all kind of assuming it's a Lucasfilm panel, which is Friday, that Friday of celebration at 11 a.m. And there was a really awesome quote. So he's essentially confirmed that he's working on Star Wars film. So we know Damon Lindelof for sure, 100% is working on Star Wars film. But his quote has James and I punching the
Yes.
air here. So his
Yes.
quote from Slash Film says, from Damon Lindelof's mouth here, I will just say that for reasons that I can't get into on this Sunday morning, on this day, the degree of difficulty is extremely, extremely, extremely high. If it can't be great, which he's talking about a Star Wars film, it shouldn't exist. That's all I'll say because I have the same association with it as you do, which is it's the first movie I saw sitting in my dad's lap, 4 years old, May of 1977.
Mm.
I think it's possible that sometimes when you hold something in such high reverence and esteem, you start to get you start to get in the kitchen and you just go, maybe I should be cooking, maybe I should just be eating. We'll just leave it at that point,
Hmm.
which is something I point to all the time, thinking about JJ doing The Force Awakens in 2015 and shooting it in 2013, 2014. It's like the amount of pressure on someone that's an actual Star Wars fan to kind of reintroduce Star Wars to the world via film. I mean, I don't I, I don't think I'd be able to do that, man. That's just way too
Yeah,
much pressure.
that was crazy. It was brave of Abrams to do, and he hasn't made a movie since uh, the Rise of Skywalker. You know what I mean? Like he's been, hey, Crystal Kyber. Well, hello there. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Crystal.
Crystal Kyber is cool. Check out her YouTube channel. She's awesome. She puts out a lot of great videos, and she's a huge Star Wars fan as well. So yeah, check out Crystal Kyber there. Um, but yeah, going back to what he said, you know, if it's not good, let's not do it. Pretty much paraphrasing. That's awesome. As
That
a
should
Star
be
Wars,
the Star Wars film
that
credo
yeah,
right
you need
there.
to have that written above in the
Rip
writers' room.
down the loose lip sink starships and just put that up. And
Yeah,
that's
exactly. And just like anytime you're working on something, look at that quote and be like, okay, if it's not good, there's no reason for us to even do it in the first place. Um, so yeah, it's really good to hear a writer, someone as great as him, you know, saying that, and so it just makes it, you know, makes you feel a little bit better about 2025 when this Star Wars movie comes out. And yeah, same as John and John Favreau and Dave Filoni, how they speak about Star Wars and how, especially Filoni, man, when Filoni starts talking about Star Wars, it's just amazing. Like I wish he would do a podcast about Star Wars and just him explaining the history of characters. And I think it would be the most fascinating thing ever. And because he loves it all. And so, I mean, I have a good feeling about 2025 Star Wars. I think it's gonna blow everybody away when it comes out, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I think Dave Filoni certainly moved up a level or two in people's eyes
Hmm.
when in that gallery episode he broke down the through line from the Phantom Menace all the way to Return of the Jedi with the Duel of the Fates and how he spoke about that and kind of enlightened a lot of people how Qui-Gon was essentially the father figure that Anakin didn't have, and Obi-Wan was the reluctant father, and how that basically set everything up for the Emperor. Even though Darth Maul was killed, essentially Palpatine's story was put into motion via Qui-Gon dying, and Qui-Gon was really, if he would have lived, everything would have been different.
Hmm.
Essentially, he was kind of like the linchpin, and I think everyone hearing that explanation that Dave Filoni gave to Bryce Dallas Howard, Jon Favreau, um, who else was at the table?
Famiua.
Famiua, Deborah Chow, and they were just like kind of like enthralled and just like listening. That's what I think it is to have Dave Filoni on the Star Wars set. Once when he starts speaking, everyone just goes silent and just listens, and they like know that this is George Lucas's Padawan essentially,
Yes.
and he's been taught by George Lucas for many, many years.
Well, what's really crazy about Filoni is back in 2017 when he was there at the 40th panel for Star Wars: A New Hope. He came out on stage. He got a standing ovation, and I remember I told my wife, I was like, he's the one who created Clone Wars, and she goes, "Oh, okay." That's all we knew about him. You know what I mean? Like that's all anybody, myself, that's all we kind of knew about Filoni. And then from 2017 to now, look how much his name has grown for Star Wars fans. Like to the point where when people like now he comes out on stage like just by himself. Before George Lucas had to bring him out, pretty much like, hey, here's Dave Filoni. Now he just comes out by himself and everybody freaks out because we all know how important he is and how smart he is and what he's doing for Star Wars. And it's awesome. It's so cool to see how far he's come, all these years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It was mind
When
blowing.
we yeah, when we attended the 40th panel back in 2017 at Orlando Celebration, Dave Filoni was the first person they brought out,
Hmm.
and George Lucas told the crowd, "This is my son." He kind of
Yes.
gave him like a jab a little bit, but he was like, "No, this is he's my son. He's my adoptive son." So I mean, that tells you everything right there. And I love the fact that George Lucas points out that yeah, we had to purge all of his bad ideas, and of course, I think some of those bad ideas I think I had at one point too, like the gray Jedi and that whole thing,
Hmm.
and yeah, George Lucas has a set of rules for Star Wars, and I think Dave Filoni knows what bounds he has as far as storytelling goes, and Dave Filoni needs a protege, man. He needs to pass on what he's learned, and I don't. James, you're closer to him than I am, so
I think Crystal Kyber and I are plotting a way to sneak onto a set and then share our knowledge, and then they're gonna hire us right away. So
yeah,
her and I are still in the process of making a plan. So
yeah. Crystal's right there too. I mean, you guys are as close as anyone on the podcast here. So
it's true. Yeah,
it's true,
it's
all of
funny.
it.
It's yeah, all of it. It's true. You should hear some of the like how we're gonna sneak on, and we won't say too much now because we don't want to give away too much. But yeah, we are plotting a way to get on there.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, it's just really cool. And thinking back to Filoni being there, Filoni, everything so far we've done everything. Yes. Filoni being there at the 40th panel didn't make a lot of sense. It really didn't because they were celebrating um A New
It
Hope.
did, it didn't, because I mean, we were kind of expecting I mean, I didn't sleep.
I didn't
It was
sleep.
an
I was
overnight
exhausted.
thing where the lotteries didn't exist then. That's where Colin likes to say the podcast was born.
Mm.
That's I met Colin, and yeah, we talked about Star Wars all night. Colin disappeared for like 5 hours, and I found out like a few days later,
He'd
he
go to
was
sleep.
in like a lightsaber tournament or something,
Oh my gosh.
and the dude has energy for days. He still has that same energy, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I
he
have
just
a story about that guy, about his we're not gonna won't get into that. Jerk. But
But
anyways,
as you were saying,
I was saying was, so Filoni came out on stage for a 40th panel, and it was cool. But then so did Ian McDermott, and I believe Hayden Christensen also came. So it was like, oh, this is just a huge celebration of Star Wars. So it made sense. But when Filoni first came out, I was like, oh, okay, Filoni's here. That's a cool thing. And then just a few years later, it was like when Kathleen Kennedy brought him on the stage with Jon Favreau, we really didn't know the connection Favreau and Filoni had at that moment. We were just like, "Whoa, man, Kathleen Kennedy just brought Dave Filoni on the stage. That's a big deal. Like, she knows Dave Filoni, she knows." And it was like, that's pretty cool. And then the moment they started talking, Favreau and Filoni, everybody was like, "Oh." And then I think you and Colin were like, "This is a big deal." And I was still kind of like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool that Filoni's helping with the Mandalorian." But then after that first episode dropped, I was like, "Holy crap, Filoni's like big guns here." And then the more the season progressed, I was like, "Man, Filoni is very, very, big guns." And then by the time season 2 came around, Filoni was up there. Like, he was, after that the gallery episode, it was like, "Oh man, he's the man." And
yeah,
it's pretty cool to see that progression of his status growing in Lucasfilm and for Star Wars as well. And yeah, he's pretty much George Lucas. Like, he's everything he knows, George Lucas taught him. So it's pretty great.
yeah, man.
Yeah, Favreau, Filoni, and Gilroy. And imagine if the three of them actually sat down to write something together. How amazing that would be. Like, that would be sick.
Gilroy strikes me as like a type A personality guy, and he's gonna want to control his set and be
Yeah.
like, "Okay, that's great," but just do whatever
But
he's
he's
gonna do.
But he's so good at it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like he's
Yeah,
great. He knows
yeah,
what he's doing. He has his style, his movies, and then it's just so great that he happened to like this era of Star Wars and wanted to contribute to it. And that it paid off for all of us. It paid off for all of us fans, because it was like, oh, this is great.
yeah. It was still shocking for me to see him on the celebration stage talking
All
about
excited, right?
Andor, and yeah, he was excited, and I was like, "Wow, I've never seen him like this." And all those reports came out that he wasn't a fan of Star Wars, and I was like, "Okay, is this guy just taking a check, or what exactly is happening here?" But he seemed super into it, and that second season, hoping we get a trailer. It should be a whole lot more action packed. I think it's gonna be a whole lot more fast paced because they're gonna
Mhm.
do blocks of 3 episodes, which are gonna be consecutive years leading up to the beginning of being on the Ring of Kafrene, I think, with
Mhm.
Cassian Andor. So
It's exciting.
yeah, but I do agree with Miss Sunfire here on YouTube that Favreau, Filoni, Gilroy, Disney struck gold with those guys, and I would also like to throw in Rick Famuyiwa as well,
Yes, Rick Famuyiwa was a huge, huge plus for Disney to get him on there.
along with giving Bryce Dallas Howard the directing reins as well. Her first experience with that.
And then
That's really awesome.
And also Carl Weathers. This guy never directed anything in his life,
Yeah,
and now then Mandalorian came along. He was like, "I want to direct," and he just killed it. Like
yeah,
his episode was amazing last season,
yeah,
and now they're trusting him with this one, and this one's huge. And the only reason, I don't want to say it like this, but the only reason he's directing it is because Filoni was doing Ahsoka, but they trusted Weathers to do this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's a big deal to do this episode because
yeah.
of, we all kind of, like we said before, we all kind of know what's going to happen in this episode. So Carl Weathers doing this is also really cool too. So it's just a perfect storm for Mandalorian and Lucasfilm. Like, the creatives they have in this thing
Yeah.
know what they're doing, and they're very, very good at what they're doing.
Right, right. So the other story we had here was some acolyte news.
Ooh,
Yeah, I just
picture.
found this fan picture online here because James didn't approve of my other picture.
I did not approve of the other picture he had ready for y'all. So if you're watching on YouTube, this is a good picture. It's fan made, but it's a better picture than what he was going to show y'all. So I just want you to know. Anyway,
So, according to Deadline, so this is a little bit older story. I don't think we really covered it at all. Um, but I'll just read this from Bestman Bulletin here. Their report is Deadline reported that Karen McCarthy from, I believe, the TV show Ballers, who was hired to be an executive producer on The Acolyte, had filed a lawsuit against Lucasfilm for breach of contract. So this person was, I think, fired, and then I think she's suing Lucasfilm, which I think the lawsuit was made public like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Mm.
McCarthy was reportedly pursued by Lucasfilm and Apple to work on their respective projects, The Acolyte and Sugar, with McCarthy choosing the Galaxy Far, Far Away and thus turning down work on Apple's project, only to be removed 2 weeks later without reason, without justification. However, the most interesting tidbits for us fans that comes from the lawsuit, which you can read on their website, is that McCarthy was required to work overseas for at least 1 year and probably several years in total, as The Acolyte is planned to run for multiple seasons, and that McCarthy was given a season 1 Bible as well as a series overview, which revealed the plans and structure in regards to the Acolyte story for future seasons.
Whoa.
So, yeah, that's really kind of the news that the Acolyte was going to run for, or is planned to be ran for several seasons, and of course, audience reception I think is going to count a lot for it. So,
no, Crystal, he's not going to show the picture.
I'll message you the picture, Crystal. See what she thinks.
So she was let go without warning, like, or that's what she's claiming. She was let go without warning.
Well, without justification. She claims like she was just like kind of just fired for no reason. So yeah, there's a lawsuit out there, but what we learned from the lawsuit was that we're going to get several seasons,
and they have it all mapped out. They have the showrunners have said this is what we're doing. This is how it's gonna progress. So, I mean, a lot of fans, kind of say a sequel trilogy really didn't have that, but it's good to know that the shows are getting a lot of good attention and stuff like that. So that's also pretty cool as well to hear that they have an idea for Acolyte.
And in case you forgot or don't know what the Acolyte is, the Acolyte is set during the High Republic era. Will follow a former Padawan and her Jedi Master as they investigate a series of crimes, but encounter forces more sinister than what they've imagined. The series stars Manila Stenberg from Bodies, Bodies, Bodies as the lead, as well as Lee Jung Jas, Squid Game, Daphne Keene, His Dark Materials, and Logan, Manny Jacinto, The Good Place, Jodie Turner-Smith, After Yang, Charlie Bennett from Russian Doll, Rebecca Henderson, Inventing Anna, Dean Charles Chapman, 1917, Carrie Ann Moss from The Matrix, and Margarita Leviva from Daredevil, Born Again. The Acolyte will release within the first half of 2024 and will have a presence at this year's Star Wars Celebration, which kicks off on April 7th.
So Acolyte, that's a huge cast. That's more star power than most of anything we've gotten with Star Wars. Yeah, that's the most star power we've gotten for a Disney Plus show so far. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty promising. There's a lot of fans out there, actors or actresses who really want to be a part of Star Wars now. And now, before it was like, oh man, like once they got those trilogies, that was it. I couldn't be in them anymore. And now you get these people who are like, oh my gosh, I could be in Star Wars, and they jump in anywhere they possibly can. And it's pretty cool now that there's a lot of more opportunities for actors and actresses to be a part of Star Wars now. And Acolyte looks like it's kind of proving that point. A lot of people are probably like, oh heck yeah, I want to do this now. And Acolyte, of course, takes place at the end of the High Republic. So I mean, there's a whole lot of potential, ton of potential for High Republic era stuff. And it was amazing at Celebration to see people cosplaying as these characters. And it was like, wow, that's pretty. And they were just the books at the time. So I already saw the first episode. It looks great. Was that what that was Acolyte was referring to?
I think Iger's seen some stuff, and yeah, I think he said it looks good. But I mean, what else is the head of Disney?
Yeah, what's he gonna? Is he gonna be like? It's not great. It gets better though. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, that's cool though that they have it. They have it already almost all done pretty much. Is very knowledgeable with the EU.
Yeah, Leslie Headland, who's the showrunner, she's a big EU fan. So
Nice.
yeah, so hopefully we get some Plagueis stuff, some young Palpatine stuff in there. And
And
the High Republic is another avenue that Lucasfilm can concentrate on and just do series, film. But from all these reports that you hear that Disney Plus is not making money pretty much at all, that films are going to have to be the big wave of Star Wars content we're going to get. That and video games. Video games make a lot of money too. So hopefully we do get more stuff on the big screen. But yeah, the High Republic, what Late to the Party mentioned earlier about the Star Killer storyline, EU stuff, Old Republic stuff. I mean,
yeah, High Republic, that's the most potential Lucasfilm has right now to throw a lot of great stories there. Like, because that's Uncharted. I mean, we have it. We have a good plot line. We have a good timeline of the High Republic, but there's so much that can be snuck in there, and it'd be really, really great. And it feels crazy we haven't gotten an animated show of the High Republic. We haven't gotten a Clone Wars style animation for a High Republic. That seems like taking David saying that's a slam dunk for me for Lucasfilm if they were to do that, because people would then be like, oh hey, there's a whole other side to this, and I just can't believe they haven't done it yet. And I think after Acolyte, I think we may get some cartoons after that taking place during that time. It just seems like the smart idea for Lucasfilm.
yeah, that they've built up a pretty big library with the High Republic. So we should get more stuff. So moving on to some celebration talk here. So badges have been mailed out,
Yep.
and I got some pictures here of what some of them look like. So there's
Nice.
Friday with Han, Saturday with Leia.
I love the speeder, the speeder emblem on the bottom. That's
Oh yeah,
so
that's cool.
cool. That's really
Yeah, for
cool.
the 40th
Yep.
Empire or Return of the Jedi. We also have a picture of the lanyard here, which is
Oof.
taking the key art from the 2023 Europe logo and putting it on the lanyard.
Oh, that looks so
And
beautiful.
yeah, yeah. Apparently, you're supposed to get an email first, and then you get the badge. I haven't even got my email, but I mean, I bought single days for every single day for 3 different people. So if you do the math on that, the badge like envelope is gonna be like this thick coming to my house.
And
So yeah, we're gonna be wearing a different badge each day, which it'll be a first for me at Celebration. But
yeah.
all the 4 days sold out like in 2 minutes, and they weren't accessible anymore.
Yeah, at all. And it was really, really upsetting. Are you guys going? David and Colin and Josh will be going to Celebration. I will
Hey,
not
what's up,
be going.
Alex?
Hey, Alex. I will not be going to Celebration. I will be here with everyone else, waiting for phone calls from David and Colin. And we're probably gonna do this every night right here, just so y'all
Yeah.
can, and I'll be just like y'all, everybody just wanting to hear what's been going on at Celebration. Um, and what's funny is you could buy all the badges. Yeah, and I think Friday or Saturday are sold out.
Well, they
But
do something at the end of the celebration where you can buy every single badge and have it like
oh,
in a
that's what I was referring
frame.
to. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah,
right.
the whole collection. Because some of them, I mean, there's almost no way to collect them all
Hmm.
like a Pokemon. But
Um,
because there's like a special guest, there's like a unlimited VIP or whatever, and then there's like a
media
standard
and
VIP.
so
I'm not
KJ.
sure if there's
Yeah,
gonna be a media this year, but I mean, for us, no, but for the media, like for like Entertainment Tonight and those people,
gotcha.
yeah.
No, I'm laughing at Nathan Shank's comment there. Yeah, all right, good. We're gonna be cool. But whatchamacallit, yeah, I'm actually getting mine, even though I'm not going. Mine are okay, so yeah, I did buy the tickets, and then I couldn't go, can't go. So
Yeah.
we're gonna kind of cheat the system here. David, and
No,
Josh,
we're
and
not,
I.
James. We're not
It,
gonna do anything
we're just
illegal.
we're not
We're gonna
we're
follow
gonna do
all the
actually
rules.
technically we're not doing anything illegal. It's just I'm not gonna go, but my tickets
Yeah.
will be there. So my badges will be there. So that's something. And then luckily for me, I still get the email to buy stuff from the store afterward, so I can still buy merchandise from the store. How do you enter the panels? We should have Colin explain that. I'm kidding. So there are 4 main panels. I don't think we've talked about this. There
5
were 4
now.
main panels. Oh, 5 now.
Yeah.
I didn't sign up for that 5th one. Oh, I didn't. I just did the 2. Anyways,
Well, the 5th one is the Obi-Wan retrospective.
so there's the Ahsoka. Oh, first there's the Lucasfilm panel. There's the Ahsoka panel. There's the
next day.
Bad Batch panel. The villains, which is Ian McDiarmid, Andy Serkis, and Gwendolyn Christie. And then there's going to be the Obi-Wan Kenobi look back, which people are also thinking, and we've kind of said they may even announce a season 2 for that, which would be kind of crazy. So yeah, you have to enter in a lottery to get those badges. I mean, to get those panels, and because we have so many of us going, we were able to enter the panels. So yeah, I entered 2 of them, and then I believe that y'all have entered some as well. And we are gonna wait until I think next week is when they'll let us know that we got into the panels.
Yeah, a company called Reed Pop kind of organizes everything, and they run other huge conventions like C2E2 and New York Comic Con.
They run them.
And it's a third party from Lucasfilm kind of sources them out to kind of run Celebration, and it's not ran that great, to say the least. But I mean, you think about it. I mean, Celebration is like a pop-up type thing, and they got to hire all these people for security to run the registers. They essentially teach them how to run the registers that day or that morning of the start of Celebration. And I remember in 2015, that was the first Celebration I went to. It almost seemed like they were teaching them as they were checking us out on these iPads, and they were the older iPads too. And it was kind of a nightmare. And we waited in line for quite a while.
You're missing though. In 2017, my wife and I were there, and we're waiting all night. We're waiting all night to get our wristbands for the 40th panel, and we didn't realize that Reed Pop, like David said, shows up, and then they're just getting trained right then and there. So it was about 6:00, and you just see people coming in the morning, and they're like, they're just kind of standing around, not knowing what to do. And it was really, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not going to be a good feeling. This is not going to be a fun time. And what did they do? They gave us our badges, and they circled us around and put us right back in the same line that we were in before.
It was a little disturbing.
It was I was so mad. I almost went home. I almost looked at my wife. I was like, let's just go back to the hotel. I'm exhausted. But I stuck it out though.
Yeah. So to paint it in a little bit better light,
sorry, horrible.
Well, waiting for hours and hours and hours until the wee hours of the morning, and then word travels throughout the lines that we're going to get special bracelets, so we can make sure that we do get in, because there's only a certain amount of seating available. Media just gets to walk in; they don't have to camp out. Nothing. So fans have to sleep on the concrete. They outlawed any type of like inflatable things, even though people still did it.
Yeah, somebody had a whole air mattress next to me, like a whole with a comforter and everything.
Brought a couch essentially. Yeah, it was wild. But so maybe 2-3 hours before they let you in to go to the room where they have the panel, they tell everyone, okay, well, follow me. And they start from the beginning of the line. The very first people that got in line, they made them do some like type of weird circle, like loop around the whole big hall that get housed like airplanes. And they gave us no direction once they put the bracelets on us. And people were confused. Do we walk over there? Do we walk over there? Because it was just chaos. And some of the people that made the sacrifice to sleep there or just stay awake in line lost their spot in line and ended up towards the back of the line. And I think I would have been one of those people if it wasn't for like Colin and a couple other people that were like, no, we're going over here. This is where we're supposed to go. And it was just chaos.
Yeah.
So people were just running everywhere. And then people were getting mad because they were running in front of them. And I didn't know what to do. I just followed Colin, I think, and luckily we ended up actually closer in line. This is what
Us,
happened, I think.
yeah, us too. We ended up further ahead than we were
Yeah,
before. But yeah, like David said, everybody just was like, where do we go now? And because Reed Pop, they had no idea. Those guys had just gotten there 30 minutes before, maybe even 10 minutes before.
yeah,
And then we waited in line again because I thought they were going to let us kind of leave because my wife and I said, let's go home and take a nap. Then we'll come back at 10 when the panel starts. Thank God we
yeah.
didn't do that because we probably wouldn't have been able to get in. And then finally, like at 9:45, they opened and everybody just ran like to the room. And that's when they told everybody, stop, everybody stop. Whoa, whoa. And then these dudes in the back were going, oh, oh. And I was like, oh, that's and I was like, "That's thank y'all so much. That makes it so much better." So yeah, I
Yeah,
saw fan vlogs of people camping out overnight and not getting in the panel. Yeah, it was a possibility because they even said if you camp out, you're not guaranteed a spot. You're not guaranteed a wristband, and so that was I felt bad for some people who were waiting in line. They're at the very back and they couldn't get in, and it was chaos. So because of all that, they're just doing the lottery system now, and so that's what we're doing, and we'll see how it goes. So we'll keep y'all posted if we get any of the panels for 2023. And it's like we talked about at the beginning, it's coming around. It's gonna be here so quick. Y'all gonna be leaving very soon. So I'm excited
yeah,
for y'all, and I'm sad. So you know,
yeah.
but I was
Also,
like,
the other thing this year, which they're doing that is different from any other year, I'll share my screen right here so you can see everyone that's watching on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook. Um, they're actually showing us the panel schedule, the celebration live scheduling for celebrities that walk out on stage with Anthony Carboni and
oh
everyone
wow,
else that's hosting. So
yeah, they've
yeah,
never
you can
done this
see
before.
you can see Hayden on Saturday, April 8th, from 12 to 12:15 on the celebration stage. They're only giving them 15 minutes there. Carl Weathers, Giancarlo Esposito, Matt Lantern, James Arnold Taylor, and Ming-Na Wen, Billy D. Williams, Andy Serkis, Brian Herring, Aiden Cook, Dennis Lawson, Anthony
Oh my
Daniels, Vivian Leigh
gosh.
Claire,
This is so stupid. It took them this long to do this.
Ewan McGregor on Sunday,
Yeah, like
and
Crystal just said, they needed that last year. Because yeah, I mean, there were moments I walked away and then like I'm like getting in my car and they're like, "Hey, Christensen's on stage now," and I'm like, I was like, how was I supposed to know he was gonna like? Nobody knows. Nobody knew. You just have to stand there and get lucky, you know. So, oh
yeah,
my
and
goodness.
yeah, Colin, myself, and my buddy Carl, we all got lucky because we just randomly just like walked up to the celebration stage, and Ewan McGregor just walked out. And we're like, oh my god,
Yeah, that was me with Rosario Dawson. Like
yeah,
I was like 12 feet away from Rosario.
wow,
I was like, that's Rosario Dawson. She looked at
yeah,
me. I mean, she wasn't looking at me, but I'd like to think she looked at me, and I got a picture of her, and
yeah,
it was really cool. But yeah, now that you know, it makes it so much better for you to like wait there and be like, oh, here comes
yeah.
Hayden Christensen. Here comes Billy
Imagine
D.
the crowd though now.
That's great. That's great. There's a schedule. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness. Reed Pop is just we
yeah.
like you, Reed Pop. Let us go for free 1 year. That'd be pretty great. Just saying. But
So the last thing I think we want to talk about tonight is of some importance here.
mm-hmm. Hey. She
So
looked
we've
at
been doing this podcast for a little over 5 years now. There I am.
if you're watching us on YouTube. Yeah, that was funny. But yes, it is our 5th year anniversary. David and I met back in 2018 and we started this podcast. And I invited a complete stranger to my apartment. And he and I recorded our first episode. Excellent. Oh, thank you, Crystal. um, but yeah, he and I recorded our first episode. We had no idea what we were doing. If you ever go back and listen to that first episode, it sounds horrible because I had
It was
lav
great.
mic.
It was great, James.
I had lav mics, and you can't even hear us that well. And Wait, I had a camera and it didn't record at
Some
all.
people say that to this day.
Yes, you can hear us. And um, we just knew we wanted to do a podcast, and we just knew we wanted to talk about Star Wars, and so we did. And then over the months, we ended up being like, okay, let's get better microphones, let's record like this, let's do this. And Joseph Walderon was my manager at the time, and he ended up getting a promotion and going to another store, so he and I could hang out. And then he came on the podcast like a month later, like a month and a half later, he was on. So I like to say that David, myself, and Joseph and Colin was in there as well, helping out in the background. We were like kind of the four OGs on this podcast. And yeah, like I said, I invited David over and never really spoke to him. Just knew him from meeting him at Force Friday, and I was like, he seems like a cool guy. Let's do a podcast together. And yeah, ended up being a cool thing. And here we are, 5 years later. Like I can't believe it's been that long. But at the same time, it doesn't even feel like it's been like no time has passed at all, really. And I'm glad that we've had a lot of great stuff to talk to. We've all, you know, still stayed together and kept this podcast going after all these years.
Having this podcast has been like going through a black hole. Time is totally dilated for me. Time has been warped. Time has gotten really weird on my end. I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just getting older. Time's going by quicker. But yeah, it feels like we've been on for longer than 5 years.
Yeah.
And people have actually said that to me too. But yeah, I mean, it's been since 2018. Or one of our first topics was talking about The Last Jedi.
Yeah, because
And
the Last Jedi had just come out on digital download that day, and so that's what we spoke about was the Last Jedi. That's a lot
that's
of
what I'm saying, Miss Sunflower. That's a lot of trust. So
yeah.
yeah, James invited a complete stranger over to his apartment.
It was like, "Hey, you like Star Wars? You wanna talk about Star Wars? Come on over, man. Let's do this." And, yeah, in all honesty, though, and most of you who have been with us this whole time know, it was actually my wife's idea for us to start this podcast, only because she was tired of me talking to her about Star Wars all the time. And so finally one day she was like, "You know what? You should that guy David, y'all should start a podcast." And so I was like, "All right, cool. What's a podcast?" I had no idea what a podcast was. And then I listened to a few and I was like, "Oh, so you just talk about whatever you want to oh, yeah, I could do that. I could talk." And so that was it. And here we are. And now I'm in California, you're in Texas, but we can still
I'm still
podcast
in
like this.
Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, and and it doesn't even sound like we're not even in the same room right now. And just technology has let this podcast keep going, and I'm really happy. And the fact that there are quite a few of us a part of this podcast, and none of us are really in the same state. You have, Ray
Yeah.
lives in Michigan, Colin and Brooke and Josh live in Florida. David is in Texas, and it's just really crazy to think that we're all spread out, but we're all friends and Star Wars fans. I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of Star Wars podcasters made a podcast after talking to strangers while being a Star Wars movie. That's great. And yeah, that's how David met Colin there at Celebration, right there in line. That's how they became friends. And then I became friends with David, waiting for him in the line in New Braunfels a few months later, not knowing both of us were in Florida at the exact same time, standing almost next to each other in line at Celebration. And then after that, we've been to 2 celebrations together. We went to Chicago and we went to then you came to Anaheim.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing. It's so great. It's so cool to have this podcast and to be able to talk about Star Wars. And I know I don't get to jump on as much as I want to, but David and I do a lot of, I'm not promoting our Patreon, but David and I actually do a lot of Patreon episodes together where we just kind of
Yeah.
late night, like, hey, jump on, we'll talk for like 30 minutes and we'll just talk about whatever topic we want to talk about. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, and it was crazy. Our voices were heard around the world in places we've never even been, and it was like, what? Somebody in Australia is a big fan of us. Like, what? Never even dreamt of going to Australia, And so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Our voices have been to places on Earth that our bodies will never go to.
Yeah.
That's a wild, wild factoid there. And yeah, it's an incredible thing. I never thought I'd be a podcaster. I was told in high school by one of my teachers I should get into like broadcasting, but it never interested me at all to do journalism or broadcasting or anything like that. But I did a little podcast before Star Wars. It kind of went nowhere, but I felt like I could kind of do it. And then when James brought the whole podcast thing, I was like, okay, well, let's see how long this thing lasts. And I didn't know who James was. He invited me into his house. I was like, well, maybe he's the serial killer and I'm about to die.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, that's you went to a complete stranger's house, you know.
So yeah, we took it on complete faith that we were okay people, and it turned out I guess we are maybe. And yeah, we've just been doing the podcast since then, and just trying to do really as many as possible, juggling all of our lives and careers. We all are married, I think, on the podcast now.
Yeah.
I think except for Ray, technically. But
And is Josh married?
yeah, he just got married.
Oh, he just got married. Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. So
But yeah, Ray's not.
well, I mean, it was months ago, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, and we kind of expanded, and we're kind of at this point now where it's 5
So-
years in, and
Okay, my wife just reminded me of something. Okay, so there was one night where David and Joseph came over to record the podcast, and one of y'all left the door unlocked because you didn't know to keep the door locked or unlocked for our apartment, and somebody just walked in. Yeah, my wife is there in the laundry room, and she just looks over and she's just like, "Oh, I guess they had someone else coming over." And then the guy walked in, and she walked out. And she, like, wait, he was like, "I'm in the wrong place." It was like, what? And then he left. And so yeah, this random dude just walked into our apartment one time, and
I forgot
it
about
was-
that story.
yeah, and Nicole was like, she goes, somebody just walked in. And so after that, we were always like, lock the door when you come in. Like, be sure to lock the door. Make sure nobody walks in while we're recording. That was bad. So a complete stranger did come into my house one time. We should have had him on the podcast. He was like,
Aside
"Hey,
from
you're
me
so
and Joseph, or
Yeah.
actually Joseph was a stranger, but
Joseph was
Yeah.
not. I remember when we were recording the Empire Strikes Back podcast, the commentary. You asked Joseph, "What language does Chewbacca speak?" And he knew, and you were
Yeah.
like, "Okay, you're cool." It was like that was the test. Be like, "All right, yeah, you're a cool guy." But man, that was so long ago now. Jeez.
yeah. Then
So much-
Joseph
so
moved
much.
away. He got married. We went to his wedding,
Yep.
and then I think he just had a baby.
Yep, they
So-
just had a kid, yeah, and he
Yeah,
went to
all
Salesforce.
of our
Yeah.
all of our lives are just constantly in flux. And now my youngest daughter now will be an adult next
my-
week, next Sunday. So a week from
Wow.
today, she'll be 18. So yeah,
I have
we
a
had
dog now.
you have a dog now. So
I don't have any kids. I have a dog now. So.
yeah, and so the house that I'm in now, I think I wasn't living in quite yet. I moved into it
That's
in
right. No, you weren't.
2018
Yeah,
in
that's right.
October. So yeah, it I had to drive to James's apartment in San Marcos, Texas to podcast.
And then I moved to a house.
Yeah, then we
in
were
San
driving
Marcos.
there. And then I surprised you with Colin one day. I told you I was bringing over a special guest, and James was like, "Who is it? Who is it? Who are you bringing to my house?
Yeah,
What
so
stranger are you bringing into my house?" And I'm like, "It's cool, man. It's cool."
yeah, he
Several
was telling me
situations like that happened on the podcast.
oh my gosh, that was a great day. That was one of the best, the funniest, and coolest surprises I've ever had was seeing Colin, and and you recorded it too. Like, there's a great video of me
Yeah,
freaking out because I was like, I don't know who the hell he is bringing to my house that I have to entertain, and like, I was like, here we go, and then there was Colin, and so that was
yeah. And luckily, you'd already met him in Chicago,
yes,
right?
yes, yeah. Well, he and I had already become best friends in Chicago.
So yeah, that
Just-
was another stranger situation because Colin was like, "Hey, you can stay at a place that I have friends. They have a place downtown Chicago. We can stay there." And James was like, "I don't know, man. We need to get like an Airbnb as like a
Yeah, I
backup
was
or
like, I
something."
don't know if we could trust.
And I
this
was
guy.
like, "It's cool. It's Colin." He's like, "I don't even know Colin." I was like, "Yeah, you're right, but I mean, I think it's okay."
that
But
was
it ended up working out so well.
that was the funnest like thing ever. We were in this apartment in downtown Chicago,
It was like a condo in downtown
and
Chicago.
yeah, and it was a fold out couch in the living room, and then there was a bunk bed in the living room that Joseph and I slept on top, Joseph slept, and then Colin slept in the room, and it was just the four of us in this apartment, and it was awesome because then we would just talk about Star Wars at night, like after celebration, we would just get together and talk about Star Wars, and I think that was some fun times. That was a great week there in Chicago, and yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, another stranger situation
So yeah,
that
now y'all know
worked out in our favor.
a lot of history of the Star Wars Sub podcast, and it's been 5 years, and let's hope here's cheers to another five another 5 years. There you go. There you go.
All right, everyone. That is the podcast for this week until we hit
Yes,
Wednesday when I'll probably do a pre-show and a little bit of an after show for the Mandalorian episode, and
nice.
then we'll do a breakdown Wednesday evening for the Mandalorian, and Colin will do a breakdown for the Bad Batch. And hope to see you then. And of course, if you're new to our podcast, you can find us at specific locations on social media. YouTube, of course, if you're watching us, thanks. Give a like,
Yes,
subscribe.
thanks.
Also, Instagram, Star Wars Stuff Podcast, Twitter, at Stuff Pod. Of course, we have Patreon. We had a few people sign up this week. Ed Raleigh and Mobril signed up. So thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much for
much.
that. And we're also on TikTok. You can email us directly at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. We got an email from someone this past week. They said that they listened to the podcast a couple years ago and they kind of got out of Star Wars. And then they decided to get back to Star Wars once Disney Plus had all these series. So they caught up and they started listening to the podcast again. So if you're listening, thank you so much for joining back up with us. And also, we're on Facebook a lot of the time where I'm posting stuff. We have a lot of great posters. Tim Seitz, he does a fantastic job of posting
Mhm.
stuff
Yes,
every single day, just about like memes and stories and
so great. So
primarily like funny stuff. It's really good.
yeah,
And if you're listening to us on Apple, try and give us 5 stars, write a review. All the reviews are pretty interesting.
yeah, it's good ones.
And earlier tonight, we were on the Twitch channel. Colin was there with his buddy Chris. I think they're playing some Ewok Hunt on there, and yeah, we're pretty much on every popular streaming app if you want to listen to us on audio. And thank you so much to everyone out there. Big shout out to Alex. He's a black tier patron, or he's not a black tier, but I think it's a red tier. But he's been contributing to the podcast
For a
for so
long,
long,
yes,
very long time. And late to the party. Thanks for listening. Thanks for commenting there. Big fan of those guys. Of course, it's Vanessa and Robert. They do an awesome reaction show. They're on social media. Late to the party, and Crystal, she finally joined us
yes.
on YouTube, and she's actually co-hosted a couple times. This will be early on in the podcast. I think midway between the 5 year mark, she was
Mhm.
on a few times. But yeah, she's very busy in Hollywood, and runs into James sometimes on
Yeah, yeah.
similar projects when
We get
they're.
to work together. It's really cool. It's really cool to see her and spend time with her on set. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's cool.
that's really awesome. The
And yeah,
forces
then
combine.
check out her YouTube channel. Like I said, she has great content on there, and big Star Wars fan. So yeah,
And with that, may the force be with you.
always.